Welcome to episode 236 of the Brain Software Podcast, emanating from Toronto, Canada. I am Chris Thompson, and today, hypnosis and NLP trainer Mike Mandel and I are going to discuss all things hypnotic and answer questions that matter. So stay tuned.
Yeah, how are you tonight? Thanks again. It's your old pal Brado here, and welcome to Brain Software, coming at you from effing Meaford. Just kidding. Anyway, what in the name of better than dude or ever happened to that old tranquility we used to know up here in the land to give me shelter because the effing snow's back again?
These are days of witchcraft. Not. So welcome to the center of the kindergarten class. Storm Rider number one, the hypnotic blues guitarist, and the Keith Richards of hypnosis, Mike Mandel.
That's Christopher. I'm back, man. Feeling good, and we want everyone to know that we're selling these.
What is that? Oh, that's a little USB to USB-C adapter. Oh,
Do you know
it's
what
an Apple.
USB stands for? Give you a hint. The first
Universal Serial Bus is the actual answer.
Well, the
but what's
first
the
word
joke?
is urethra.
Oh,
Put the rest of it
urethra.
together.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Oh man, see, I know these things. Universal Serial
Let's
Bus.
talk. What
All
is any promotions we have?
Yeah. Well, let's do a very quick one. We'll just mention that the Architecture of Hypnosis, again, coming up in November.
Live
There's
in
still
Toronto.
decent time, but weirdly, I guess people are listening because we did a last podcast a couple of weeks ago, mentioned AOH, and all of a sudden, like people are starting to sign up. So it's filling up. It generally fills up in that last month. That's when things really start to go nuts. So if you're planning to come to Toronto to spend 5 days with us,
Have a blast.
having an awesome time, learning actual fundamentals of hypnosis, having a freaking blast, practicing it with some people who will end up becoming your lifelong friends. That's what happens every class. We have, I think, already 5, if not 6 master students signed up for the class, just so you know. So I
Right.
think we told them we were only going to take 4. Too bad, it's going to be 6.
We're stopping at 6.
It's
Yeah.
going to be 6. It's going to be amazing.
Epic.
We keep the class to about 40 people. It's in a really nice hotel in Toronto, easy to get to from the airport or from downtown or from transit. It's just wonderful. You'll spend 5 days with us. It's super affordable compared to, not being in Canada, like whatever. Anyway, come on out. You're going to have a blast.
And you'll become an amazing hypnosis general practitioner and be really good at this stuff.
Yeah, the metaphor is it's like med school for hypnosis. You learn to be a generalist, then you'll have skills. And as our students told us after going to HypnoThoughts Live, going to all these specialized things, they're going, wow, I thought I was going to be so intimidated and wouldn't know what to do and it would be over my head. The reality was, Mike, they said
Everybody
they
said
felt
they had the
it all
foundations.
just slotted in because they had this solid understanding, and that's what we excel at. And then you can become a specialist in whatever you want.
Excellent.
By
excellent.
going to awesome other trainers that we support.
Now let's
So
talk about
that's
other
it.
trainers for a second, because I want to mention
Wait.
had
MikeMandelHypnosis.com/class. That's where you want to go to learn about the architecture of hypnosis. Sorry,
Brilliant.
there we go.
No, that's
You are-
good. I didn't want to interrupt the URL. Haven't done that in years. We had Cheryl and Colonel Larry Ellman as our
Yes.
special guests for our group just a few days ago, and they were phenomenal. People were posting in the chat. They were saying, this is epic. This is great. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
They did an amazing job in teaching the fundamentals of Dave Ellman's techniques, answering Q&A. They're just lovely people. We're very good friends with them. And so those of you in our academy, check out the training. It was
And
just
those
fantastic.
of you not in the academy, it's very easy to sign up. And then you can check out our entire library of trainings that we have for you, but also the guest appearances that we've had over the years. And what I really loved about Larry and Cheryl is it seems like they've come up with a way to hand off this part of the story, hand it back and forth to each other. But not only was it historically interesting to learn how Dave Ellman got into hypnosis and became a master of hypnosis and all these things that he did, but they sneaked in all these little nuggets of wisdom, hypnotic gold that people took away.
Totally.
And went, oh, wow, that's fantastic. And there were cool demos and everything. So
And
there we go.
Even if you're an Ericksonian, like I am primarily, Ellman's stuff is so freaking brilliant. If he had only discovered a way to get people into the Esdale state, which he did really fast instead of 3 hours that it used to take Esdale.
And if he had only discovered fractionation,
those two things, that would have put him in the upper echelons of
Mm-hmm.
hypnotic genius forever, but he went so far beyond that. It was the early days of regression
Yeah.
and so on. But yeah, excellent stuff, man. Glad we had them, and it's always nice to see them.
The book that Dave Ellman wrote, which is the green covered hardcover, it's called Hypnotherapy. Simple. It's unbelievably good, and we had quite a lot of our students saying, "Oh yeah, I picked it up. I'm starting
Holding
to
it
read
up
now."
on the screen. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
phenomenal. So okay, cool. Now
This takes us to our think tank.
yeah,
words.
we got our think tank words, and then we're going to spend an entire episode just talking about hypnosis, mostly going into some depth on questions that have been asked in our community, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, things like that. I think we're going to start to do that more often.
I think so
because
too.
This is a hypnosis podcast.
There you go.
All right, there we go. So think tank words. Ooh,
Number one,
oven. Number two, session. And
number
number three, mode. I
mode.
think we just decided on our new way,
New
of,
way
doing
of doing
this.
it,
There we
yes.
go. Oven. Well, you think of the expression "a bun in the oven," which is a metaphor for a woman being pregnant, and it takes 9
Insensitive.
months to make this magic
Gestate,
happen.
yes.
Yeah, and make this magic happen. So that was
okay, but I always
grammatically
think, I think oven, I think of something like, baking a cake or cooking a roast or
Yes,
something like
it
that. But
takes
things
time.
take time.
and heat. Well, both heat and pressure tend to accelerate chemical reactions.
I didn't know
right?
pressure did, but that's interesting.
And now we don't tend to do that in cooking, although with a pressure cooker you do.
Right.
Right. And that's why. So heat and pressure accelerate chemical reactions. And of course, also heat transfer happens faster under pressure than it does without. So anyway, there you go.
Just fired a
I know.
memory
there
that
you-
is so freaking weird. When I was in high school, Mr. Laxton, very nice guy, was one of the science teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And I dreamed when I was in high school that he came staggering into the room from the in-between lab room, tears
Staggering?
running down his
Was
face.
he drunk?
No, he's
Okay.
laughing so hard. And I said, Mr. Laxton, what's wrong? He said, oh, nothing. He said, I got some chemical reactions going on in that room, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then I woke up.
That's so
So you
funny.
think about pressure and increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very hot.
So if you think about an oven, heat. Okay, so first
Bringing
of all,
some sort of change.
yeah, something is changing. Change can take time.
Yeah.
Certain changes can be essentially instant, right? Like we talk about in NLP and hypnosis and neurology shifts. But other things like getting in shape or learning a new skill or a new language or building a company. What do we like?
or
the-
selling
Yeah, or
these.
selling these.
Yeah.
It takes time, right? So you got to stick it in the oven. It's a good metaphor for that. And the
Absolutely.
higher the temperature, the faster things cook.
So when we're under heat, when we're feeling the heat, we're under pressure,
And-
that can lead to something
Ooh.
beautiful and perfect.
And
so
Mike,
remember,
what if the temperature's too high? Things burn, things overcook, or people burn out, right? So think of the slow cooker metaphor there too. Sometimes it's better to slow cook things.
oh, buddy, yeah, things like brisket. I cook a brisket for 10 hours in a slow
Yeah.
cooker with bourbon, and it was brilliant. We'll be having brisket up at the cabin. when
Oh,
we're at
yes,
Boston.
we will.
What about
Oh, yes, we
session?
will. Okay,
A
session.
session can be a jam session. You're playing music together.
Yeah,
It can
session.
be,
It can be a browser session.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a study session. Yeah, anything, any kind of session. To me, session means an interval of time that is spent doing something.
something specific.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting phonological ambiguity from this, and I'm now hearing it as says Sean.
Says Sean. Oh,
So what does Sean have to offer us? We have a really good Sean who came to Toronto, trained with us,
Yeah.
and he's in our Foundation's live group. Really nice guy too. So what is Sean teaching?
Says Sean makes me think of, so you know that we have our side company, not side company, our sister company, Picthos,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is an agency to help hypnotists and coaches and other people helper professionals build their business online. Now, we offer a lot of tools and templates and training, but the platform itself is based on a platform called High Level, and Sean is the CEO of High Level. And so says Sean makes me think of him. He, to me, he's the freaking Elon Musk of the CRM and business automation world.
And you are the Elon Musk of the guys who say that.
There you go. There. I am the Elon Musk of people who say that Sean Clark from High Level
Is the
Elon
Elon
Musk of automation and yeah, I'm going to have to send him this clip. There we go.
Yeah, I'll put that.
He's an
in your
awesome
oven.
guy. He's
okay.
awesome.
What about mode?
Mode. Well, it makes me think of ego states, actually. You have mode. You have like, bloop, you have, I don't know, on your camera, on my camera. We've got camera mode and we've got playback mode, right? They're different
on
functions.
Speakers, you have quiet mode, like night mode on your TV.
Yeah, night mode and daytime mode.
Right.
There's different settings, different switches that you can toggle, like Jack the Toggler.
Like Jack the Toggler, exactly. Okay, well, let's see if these work into our
I would think
story
that fits into ego state.
Let's
So, all right.
begin with some hypnosis Q&A. Chris, let's get a foundation here so we can go into Royce's amazing set of questions. I promised her we'd address them today.
One of our
and I've actually
storm
printed
riders.
them in here.
Okay.
They're right here for us.
Yeah, she's one of our storm riders.
Yeah.
She asks great questions, and
Very
we
bright
love
young
talking
woman.
about this stuff. So, all right, let's go.
What is your definition or understanding of hypnosis? We've been asked this occasionally over the years, and we want to offer you some of these models right now. Remember the model I first came up with, the statement when I went with Dr. Arthur Perlini to the American Psychological Association Symposium on Hypnosis in Toronto. And I said, my definition of hypnosis is something that probably doesn't exist, but if it did exist, would closely resemble that which I do. And they like that because it takes it away from being a thing and turns it back into
a
processes.
process.
Yeah.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense because, in fact, that was the genesis of the last week's discussion when we recorded the prior episode. We batch these sometimes, guys, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about triangulation. You said, have you been triangulated lately? And I told you how in a Facebook group, somebody was like, well, Mike says that Mike is a believer of the state model of hypnosis.
No.
And I was like, I disagree with you. And he goes, well, and he offers all this stuff. And I said, nothing. I didn't respond. He wanted to know what my opinion was of this. Why are you asking my opinion of what Mike's beliefs are? But now is the perfect time because we can actually talk about this.
So we'll get to my belief at the very end.
We'll get to the state model.
When we get through Royce's questions.
Right.
Yeah. So let's start with the first definition of hypnosis. Some people like to see it as conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. So we have a trifolate model, which is
kind
very,
of
very
like the
interesting.
surface of the water and everything above it is conscious. Things
Right.
we are.
Nah, you're mixing models here.
Yeah, I know. We're going to
metaphors.
get to that one in a moment
Right.
because they do have this nice. We get to do our gesture here, Mike. Look, they do blend.
Now, yeah, you're right.
Conscious stuff is conscious stuff things you are simply aware of consciously, or also things you can control consciously?
I don't know.
Good question, right?
question.
Because I can be aware of my heartbeat, but I can't control it.
Right. No.
Well, I guess I
right.
can exercise.
To a degree.
And,
You could with breathing to change the parasympathetic
Yes.
response, as I did yesterday, as you know.
Right.
Now, this is interesting because some people, a lot of hypnotists, they say conscious and subconscious. That's it. That's what they leave it to. But I choose the Ericksonian model. I know Erickson was a psychoanalyst because he was a psychiatrist. So he went conscious, unconscious. He left out subconscious, and I typically never use the term subconscious unless I'm telling someone that I don't use it.
Despite the fact that more people have heard the term subconscious and they'll Google search subconscious and people will say it in articles or videos or whatever, but to us, they're the same word.
Right.
Subconscious and
Right.
unconscious.
Yeah, it's just the same understanding. We see no reason to divide this into a tripartite model. Just like conscious, unconscious is good enough. Also, what about the beach ball and the dime model?
Yeah, with the critical faculty
Thank you.
involved. So we have this notion that if your beach ball is your entirety of your brain, and on top of a beach ball, you
Or
have...
let's say your mind.
Yeah, your mind. And you were to put a dime on that beach ball, that would be your conscious mind.
Clarify
but
dime for the
a
international
dime, meaning a 10-cent piece, a 10-cent coin, a small coin. It doesn't matter. Any coin. Put a coin on a beach ball, and that would represent metaphorically the coin is your conscious mind. It's fairly small, whereas the vast everything that's going on in your mind is immense.
Yeah.
But how do the two interact? Well, how does information go from, let's say, something suggested by an external hypnotist, communicator, anybody who influences you all the time, because it's happening all the time, and that's a key thing. And that stuff is coming in through conscious, let's say. Some of it's coming in unconscious, but that's because it's bypassing what we call the critical faculty.
And where does that figure into
which
that
you can
model?
imagine as being what Mike likes to say. Imagine a coaster, like one of those fuzzy coasters that you put a hot coffee cup on to protect your table, your coffee table. Put that between the beach ball and the coin, and that is your critical faculty. And we think of that, it's just a model. It's not actually in your brain, guys. you can think of it metaphorically as a bit of a firewall. It decides what goes into that unconscious versus not going into that
acts as a series of
unconscious.
filters and so on.
And so what will allow things in? What will cause that critical faculty to be like, yeah, that's okay, I'll let that in.
Which leads us to the doorman.
Right, the doorman model. Yeah, the idea that if you, the doorman at a bar, similar model. I think this was Scott Sandlin explaining this. And he got it, he probably got it elsewhere. I don't know where, but I'll just credit Scott because Scott taught it to us. And the idea being that the doorman will let someone in to the club. Well, how do you get the doorman to let you in? You make friends with him. You distract him. You beat him over the head. I don't know. You generally confuse him in such a way that now you can sneak in. All right. There's all kinds of ways to imagine getting past the doorman, and the easiest way is just actually make friends with him, so he wants to let you in.
Right. So having rapport with a client when you're working with them will permit the critical faculty to temporarily become permeable or semi-permeable, so information can get into the unconscious. Now, so that fits nicely with the beach ball model.
And let's say, like a simple idea, I often come back to this kind of example in our podcast. And in fact, today is my 22nd wedding anniversary, the day that we're recording this right now.
It's an Illuminati number.
So we're going out to dinner. So let's say I want to influence my wife to go to a particular restaurant, or to pay the bill.
That's what I was thinking. It'd be more like you.
Goes on our shared credit card and bank account anyway. But let's say I want to influence her to go to a particular restaurant. Then I need to offer that as some sort of suggestion. Well, how do I make that suggestion more likely to sneak through? Well, that's the idea of that coaster, that I'm offering something, probably linguistically, and if she is not interested or distracted or friendly to the idea or in a bad mood or not even hungry or has just watched some YouTube video where somebody made a really bad version of that type of meal, that's not going to help me. That's going to be critical faculty saying no, right? And I want critical faculty to go, yes.
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 Now, this is good. This leads us to George Miller. And the George Miller model, as I call it, is really the NLP model. The idea that you are consciously aware of about 7 bits of information per second, plus or minus 2. All the rest, 3 to 20 million bits of information per second, are unconscious.
Yeah.
So there's a shift going on continuously as to where your attention lingers. And if you're holding things in your conscious awareness, if someone mentions something that you're not aware of at the moment, as we always say, like right now as you're listening, you can suddenly feel your tongue inside your mouth. Well, the nerves have been transmitting the whole time, but now you're aware of it because that conscious chunk is taking on that bit of information.
Right. And I think that's a really good way to explain awareness of things that are unconscious. And I don't even use the per second part of that explanation.
Oh, nice.
I just drop it because you're aware of 7 plus or minus 2 things at any point in time, in any snapshot in time. I just think that's easier than measuring it over a second in my personal.
How long did you think about that?
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Now look, what about the, I thought it said brain hemorrhage model.
Brain hemorrhage model.
That would be awful.
The hemisphere model.
The brain hemisphere model. The idea that the left hemisphere in a right-handed person typically tends to be more active when you are not hypnotized, and the right hemisphere, and again, these are gross generalizations.
Whatever
Don't write to me
hypnotized
because I don't read
means,
it anyway.
yeah.
But the right hemisphere is the whole idea. The right hemisphere seems to be tied more to the unconscious. And when one goes into trance, I think a good source for this is Dr. Peter Brown, The Hypnotic Brain. You'll see that if you have positron emission tomography, your left brain begins to become muted as you go into a trance, whereas the right one starts to wake up. And if the left one is primarily thinking in terms of sequence and letters and numbers and logic and detail, the right brain is form and color and music and metaphor and all this stuff. So we get the right one waking up, the left one muting a bit, and they then communicate with each other through the corpus callosum.
So now let's bridge the worlds between hypnosis and everyday life, because as Stephen, my brain's not working.
Adolf? Is it Adolf someone?
Everything is hypnosis. There's no such thing as hypnosis. Monsters and magical sticks. Terry Steele. Terry Steele. There you go.
Yep.
Fixed it. There we go. Don't even need to edit that out.
Brilliant.
Terry Steele, in his book, where he talks about everything is hypnosis and there's no such thing as hypnosis. Whoa, right? Well, okay. Hypnotized person, more activity in their right brain. What about going to the theater? What about being at a rock concert? Something like that.
And again,
are you more likely to have right brain activity in those? Whereas writing a math exam, let's say, probably more left brain activity, according to the model. Does that make sense?
It seems
Or maybe
to.
not. I don't
I'm
know.
afraid to commit to it. but
Okay.
It seems to, because if you're involved in a good play or a good movie, notice how time distortion kicks in. You're less aware of your surroundings. You're in a transic state.
Maybe an easier way to explain it is this. We're not saying that you must be in a hypnotic trance that you put yourself in or someone else put you in terms of it being hypnosis, whatever you want to call that, formal hypnosis, in order to activate that hemisphere of the brain.
No,
that
we're not.
hemisphere of the brain works all the time at different times when you're doing normal things that we would say are already hypnotic. Whenever you guide your attention inwards and focus specifically on something that isn't pure like logic and things like that, you're going to activate that hemisphere.
Brilliant.
There you go.
Just look at this. I got a freaking Bimstein here from
A
pickleball.
Bimstein from a Bimstein.
Seen a
Do you want to
Bimstein
explain
since
what that means?
Well, it's just what we called it in jiu-jitsu when you get a mild injury, usually a bone bruise.
Oh, yeah.
When some
A
idiot, you go to
Bimstein.
punch some guy and he rocks you in the knuckles with his elbow, which is a really nice move, and then you get a Bimstein and he doesn't. So this is interesting.
Okay.
So let's look at, brain hemisphere works for me, and the whole critical faculty thing, you're getting a balance between the hemispheres shifting. What about the play acting model? Now, this is an interesting one. If you want to look up all this stuff, I recommend the Oxford Book of Hypnotism, or whatever the heck it's called. It's pretty good. It's scholarly. In fact, Arthur Perlini's in there, and Nick Spanos and the people he worked with.
Okay.
But what's intriguing, the play acting model, some people had this idea that people who are hypnotized are just acting out a role. That's it, like a role-playing thing. And interestingly, though, as we've said with Erickson's work, it is impossible to pretend to be hypnotized really well, because as soon as you do, you start to slip across into actually being hypnotized by putting in all the
Anything
components.
that
Yeah.
assumes trance causes trance. Clark
Clark
Hall,
Hall,
1933. Hypnosis and suggestibility.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. So, well, we're on that. So remember the Erickson sneeze story.
Yes, of course.
Milton Erickson was doing a demo, probably University of Wisconsin.
And these guys wanted to screw him up.
Yeah, they wanted to screw him up because people are dicks. But Erickson, took things very serious. He was very good at what he did. And some guy hired a young actor, paid him $10, which was so much
A
money
lot
back
back then.
in
You could buy a house.
Yeah, a car and a house. So this was a guy who could sneeze on. Sorry, who could sneeze on command, which is ridiculous when you think about it.
Really,
Who
yes.
could do that. So what they did. Scary thing I was going to do it
Do you
again.
think the world
Actually, no,
has the
hold this
world
up
gone
again.
back to the point where you could actually spasmodically cough on someone as a joke?
Oh, I haven't done that in ages.
Yeah.
Used to cough
We used to
in the
do
back
that
of
on
his
the
neck.
podcast.
Now, so they get this guy, this actor, to go up for the demo with other people and pretend to be hypnotized and would sneeze every time they gave some signal from the audience,
Right.
whatever it was. Well, they give the signal, the guy doesn't sneeze. Guy gives the signal, he doesn't sneeze. Finally stands up in the audience, he says, "I'm paying $10 for you to sneeze, and damn it, you're going to sneeze." He was in a trance.
Yeah.
He'd taken
So
on the
he
role
had
too well.
he had exactly, which then goes on to show that
Play acting can become hypnosis.
we say everything is self-hypnosis because as long as you follow the instructions of the hypnotist,
Yeah.
you will go into trance.
Yeah, it's the idiots who sit there waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think you can hypnotize me.
Well,
No,
they're
of
not.
course-
We shouldn't even call them
No,
idiots.
but there are
Yeah.
idiots. I'm talking about the ones out of that subset that
Oh,
actually are idiots. Oh, you can't hypnotize me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just ignorance. And when we say ignorance, as a reminder,
the
ignorance
Greek.
means not knowing.
From the Greek.
It is not an insult.
What's the word?
Gnoskos.
Very good. Gnosko.
Gnosko.
Gnosko,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. And that's classical
I don't
Greek.
speak Greek, but
Neither do I.
now I do.
But I like Greek food.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Now, let's look at the expectation model. This is a good one, too.
Okay.
Some people think that the subjects are picking up subtle unconscious cues from the hypnotist, and all they're doing is responding to what they think the hypnotist wants them to do.
Which I suppose makes a lot of sense in drawing them into their own trance for something like stage hypnosis, but also in an office setting, right? If you're running a suggestibility test, if you are offering a change in your voice, well, that's going to signal to the person, oh, something's supposed to happen. I'm
Right.
supposed to relax now, or whatever
Right,
the
and
case
if it's
may be.
something like a suggestibility test, you're locking their hands. The idea with this model would be the person realizes they are supposed to lock their hands together, and they're doing it's almost got a compliance aspect that they're doing it purely to support the hypnotist in what they're doing. Now, I don't mean they think they're feeling sorry for the hypnotist.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I? This is
But
part
you
of
know,
every podcast
where this
now.
model really really overlaps in my mind.
I was wondering
You know
that, Chris.
these psychological studies where they'll have somebody in a room who's the plant, right? Or sorry, he's not the plant. He's the actual one being studied.
Right, right.
Everyone else is a plant.
Right.
And they do a thing like, okay, there are 3 lines here drawn on the paper. Which one is the longest? And the first person goes, oh, it's B. B is obviously not the longest. And next person, yeah, B. Next person, B. And then the person sitting there is thinking, oh, I know it's not B, but I guess I'm supposed to say B. That must be right somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not a perfect overlap.
No, but you're right. You're on a roll there with it. The reason that happens because the person isn't a freaking Enneagram 8. Because I just say,
Yeah.
you're wrong. You're effed in the head. It's not the line.
But so there is part of that is I'm supposed to say this, or maybe not.
Social proof again. Social compliance.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
back to
supposed to
Cialdini.
stand in this line. I'm supposed to be quiet in the library. I'm supposed to all these things that you're supposed to do that you do because there's an expectation.
Listen to this brilliant line.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a sip of deuterium oxide from this
There you go.
heavy water from this wonderful cooling tower. Scary thing it was a nuclear power plant.
You gotta be watching this on video.
Oh, Packers, I just hit it on the microphone.
Uh-oh.
Notice I'm not even worried about the microphone. It's the glass I'm concerned about.
Don't even care.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at the
Suggestibility model.
Some people, hypnosis is just suggestion. That's the amazing Kreskin. He believes, it's just suggestion. It's just someone gives a suggestion, somebody accepts it.
And that's where we fall into this perhaps trap of people going, oh, well, only 10% of the population
gosh.
can be hypnotized and put into a somnambulistic trance where they will experience positive hallucinations or negative hallucinations or name amnesia, which I suppose is also negative hallucination. They're hallucinating that they don't have their name.
I expect
It's just
so.
not visual.
Yeah, I would think it fits into the same thing. The idea that you're offering suggestions, they have to accept, and they've somehow become more suggestible. But Erickson said, and I find he's generally right. Erickson said that hypnosis does not increase suggestibility. It only increases potential suggestibility, meaning the subject can still say no.
Exactly. And that's why I think in many cases, somebody can be a very good hypnotic subject when it comes to, let's say, making change in their own life or having some phenomena that they experience really well, but they're, for whatever reason, they're unwilling to have a negative hallucination, positive hallucination, name amnesia, or
Right.
or do ridiculous things like quack like a duck and dance like a chicken or whatever. They may not do it.
Or bite like a wand.
But other things they will respond to beautifully, right?
Exactly.
I think
They-
James Tripp talks about this too.
Yes, you have
around
the
like
ability.
the idea of someone's hand being stuck to a table versus any other therapeutic change, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, I will go with that.
Some people won't, they just won't experience their hand stuck to the table.
No. Notice you didn't say they can't.
Yeah,
You
it's
said
not
they
that they
won't.
can't.
Yeah,
It's
you said
that they
they
won't. Something in their brain is like, nah, that just doesn't seem realistic to me. But other uses of hypnosis are perfectly realistic and they'll have amazing shifts.
Brilliant, which leads us now to the brainwave model. The idea that when one goes into a trance, the brainwaves start to slow. So if we daydream, we go into a high alpha pretty quickly, then a low alpha. With good hypnotic skills, you take someone into a theta wave, like maybe 4 to 6 hertz. You're not getting them into delta 2 to 4. I mean, that is actually a sleep. And sleep and hypnosis are not the same, although human Gibbons theory would say there's a great overlap. In fact, the human Gibbons model, which I didn't put down here, is the idea that the sleep state at night is very closely akin to hypnosis because you're depotentiating emotional arousal from the previous day, whether it's sexual or anger or whatever. So you're starting each morning with a clean slate. What happens when you're asleep? The same stuff that happens in hypnosis: time distortion, amnesia, metaphor, and symbolism. So there's a sort of an overlap there.
Agree.
The brainwave model, yeah, and remember too, meditators tend to produce high and low alpha. And I read a study years and years ago. I can't give you the source, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty certain that this is what it said. It said Zen meditators, the guys who sit there and they think of koans like the sound of one hand clapping and all this stuff. And meanwhile, the coach comes by, the master, and he hits them over the head with bamboo rods to shock them into this enlightenment thing. Now, interesting, which of course, you know what I'd do with a freaking rod once I took it off him?
Yes, I think it would get jammed somewhere.
Somewhere uncomfortable. Unlike this. Now listen, this is, you know what this is called? I've decided I got a name for it.
What?
This.
The Bimstein?
This. It's
All right,
this.
It's this.
So anyway, so that whole idea that Zen meditators, they produce theta instead. And theta is a highly creative wave. So they do all this meditation and gradually learn to produce theta waves. No, this is one of those few times the West got it right. You hypnotize someone adequately deep in the trance, you can get a theta wave just with hypnosis.
It was one of these, anything that assumes trance causes trance situations. Back to Clark Hall. Amazing how that happens.
Yeah, no, I'm going to hand you over to Hilgard.
Well, yeah, Hilgard's model.
Obsessed with.
I think I talked about this in our last podcast very briefly too, that I had not heard this because out of the massive vault of hypnotic knowledge you have, and you've shown me so much, this is just one that's never come up in our conversations. So Ernest Hilgard, I learned about this in Yapko's book, Process-Oriented Hypnotherapy. I'm listening to it on Audible right now. And he mentions that Hilgard had commonly said that hypnosis is simply believed in imagination. Well, that's such a great model. It fits very well with the idea that people are, we'll say people are already hypnotized. They're already doing hypnosis. Let's just teach them to do it differently. Or how Jason Lynette, our friend, he often likes to say to clients, you're already doing hypnosis. I'll show you how to do it better.
Fantastic.
Bingo.
Brilliant.
Because whatever you believe in and imagine, I guess that's the order. It has to be imagine it, believe that it's true, bam, you hypnotized. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the...
What do we got?
I don't know if I can even say this.
Okay.
We might have to edit this out.
Oh, I'll be the judge of that.
Okay. Then there's the other one, the Richard Cole model, which is, I want to work in the U.S., so I'm going to get Michael C. Anthony to do all my paperwork.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this, so you'll have to explain that to me. All right.
Just kidding, Richard. It's hilarious. So let's talk about the automatic imagination model because this fits so closely with the...
we didn't even talk about the Hilgard model, so let's just...
No, you did.
Okay,
you said
we
believed in
mentioned
imagination.
Here, I'll give you... We talked about this very briefly before the podcast. I'll give you 30 seconds on this because I think this is a good example of people being hypnotized to believe a certain thing. Self-hypnosis. Imagine it and believing in it. It's when people say, oh, I'm old. I can't do that because I'm old. I've caught myself doing that and stopped, and now I train everyone. Say I'm older. That's just a statement of fact. It's a relative statement. Of course, we're older every moment. I'm older now than when I first started talking about this.
Right,
You're much older because I'm telling a Ken Sweatman story.
I'm enduring it, yeah.
It's about being older. That's just simply fact. Whereas, oh, I'm old. That means... that's my reason I can't do this. That's my reason my health is failing. I don't have any muscular strength. It's because I'm old. No, that's BS. It's because you've actually just spent a whole amount of time, a lot of time,
in self-hypnosis,
not doing this stuff that you should have been doing, that you used to do when you were younger, when you were a kid, and you'd play and you'd be athletic and you'd be eating different foods and not sitting on your butt so much. You spent a whole lot of time getting older, not doing the things that you needed to do, and now your life sucks, and you go, I'm old. That's hypnosis.
Do you think that could be undone
100%.
If someone did the 30-day calendar TV show thing?
I think it can be undone by reframing it as I'm older and I can still go back to do the things, change my life. Remember last episode, 10 things you should stop doing right now. Wasting freaking time watching TV and social media goes into that too. If you're listening to this, I hope that you're walking or riding a bike or doing something. No, whatever. Oh, your phone's ringing. This stuff
it's
really
not
comes
mine,
out.
buddy. Not mine.
Yeah, it is right here.
Oh, peckers of hell.
It's Michael C. Anthony
We're not
calling you
listening
right
to him.
now.
Yeah.
He's probably asking you for help with that paperwork issue you just brought up.
Now, you didn't even comment when I just asked you that.
What? What did you ask me?
I said...
Can it be undone?
No, I said, do you think it could be undone
with the
by the
30-day
calendar model?
I assumed you meant the TV, shutting off the TV for 30 days.
No, I meant the new TV show. Once a day.
Oh, you can't even talk about it.
I know.
It's
you
enjoyment.
break into someone's house, a different house, and you're followed by a camera, and you just do a lot of enjoyable things. More about that later. So let's get into this. What about, Raphael Rhodes, just to close, and we got a quick
commercial. Yeah, we'll go to that.
Raphael Rhodes, the idea that you have two minds, one in the foreground, one in the background. When the one in the foreground recedes, the one in the background moves forward. So it's a conscious-unconscious model, but he puts them
There's
positionally.
so much overlap
Yes.
between these models, which is why we like to give you flexibility.
And which is why we've gone through all of these now to prep for Royce's great questions.
Right. And hypnosis is a model. So I'll tell you what, let's come back and discuss Royce's question after this commercial break that you are all you're going to want to stay tuned for this. So here we go.
Tomorrow night at 8:23 p.m. on the Charles Manson Network, the lawn tree blooms again.
Robbie Drinkwater was a fairly typical young man. He lived in Albuquerque and worked at the local 7-Eleven. He spent his evenings drinking wine spritzers, watching online pornography, eating corn dogs, reading about serial killers, and frightening and bullying his neighbors whenever he got the opportunity, which was pretty well every day. Life was good. But things changed radically for the worse when the beautiful cherry tree on Robbie's lawn died. Probably because it had been poisoned by a professional hitman who specialized in arbicide, who was likely hired by one of the terrorized neighbors. Despondent, Robbie decided to get some help, so he went back to his place of employment and purchased an industrial-size swing-line staple gun, 1,000 staples, and some large sheets of cardboard, which he was going to use to make signs that he could staple to trees and telephone poles. He began by cutting the colored cardboard into letter-sized rectangles, and then wrote his phone number and address on each sheet along with the words, "Do you know who poisoned my tree?" Once the small posters were ready, Robbie loaded the swing-line staple gun with a couple of hundred industrial staples and tested the device by squeezing the trigger to load the magazine of staples. Instantly, Robbie Drinkwater realized he'd made a terrible mistake, because instead of chambering the first staple in the ready position, he inadvertently injected himself in the left testicle. In his panic, he accidentally squeezed the trigger again, injecting a second staple perilously near the first one, entangling his vas deferens and doing himself an immense disservice. He grabbed his iPhone and called 911 for help, and within minutes a testicular reenfranchisement team was dispatched by helicopter from the trauma ward of the New Mexico Testicle Hospital. But just as Robbie was losing consciousness, he saw a remarkable sight. The dead cherry tree was filled with fragrant pink blossoms, and Robbie relaxed with a smile on his face. Because everything changes when the lawn tree blooms.
I looked out of my room
He looked out of his room.
in the middle of June.
It was the middle of June,
and the
lawn tree blooms
in the center of June. I saw the
lawn tree bloom.
and the lawn tree blooms. The lawn tree blooms.
The lawn tree blooms.
Watch the premiere of season 23 of The Lawn Tree Blooms tomorrow night on the Tex Watson Network.
Okay, and we are back, and hope you all are going to be tuning in for that amazing episode. So let's talk about Royce's questions.
Right.
All right.
It's fairly extensive, but it's a good one. So she starts by saying, a lot of us hypnotists like to say that when we do hypnosis, we are accessing and utilizing the power of the unconscious mind, but isn't the opposite true?
Yeah.
See, as soon as we hypnotists say something, we automatically direct the conscious person's mind to consider it. Consider the following statement. Your unconscious mind knows all the ways to resolve this issue. So you would think that because you are under hypnosis, that is the reason you can access the unconscious. But can you really access the unconscious? Isn't the very definition of unconscious that you're not consciously aware of what the answer is? If your unconscious solutions remained unconscious, why would you be better off than you were before? Weren't those answers always there to begin with? So what about if we're to say that with hypnosis, we're directing someone's attention to something they weren't aware of before, or at least something they're not aware of at that very moment? That's what we're really doing, isn't it? Aren't we? We're bringing something back to their conscious attention that was forgotten. And that's where directing someone to positive past experiences comes into play. And we're piggybacking, i.e. pacing and leading, using because their previous good experiences. We're making new connections based on the old ones. So here's the conclusion. We live in our conscious minds. If our conscious minds aren't happy, then we aren't happy. So perhaps it's our conscious minds with all the power. After all, what do you think?
This is such a
It's well thought out. I
really
want to hear your
well thought out
response
question.
first,
Well,
and then I'll give the truth.
as you were reading it, of course, I have the advantage of having cheated a bit because I saw the original post
Yep,
in some
yep.
detail, but I never actually slowed down and read it the way that you just did here. So now listening to it, I'm like, of course, I agree with so much of what she wrote here.
And what
that
parts do you disagree with?
I don't even know if there's any parts that I disagree with. I think that I agree mostly with the idea that we live in our conscious minds. So we have this wealth of resources and ability to tap into memories that we'd forgotten about, resources that we'd forgotten about. And when we become aware of them, it makes us happier. We get an ego state that's executive, that we tend to usually be conscious of what we're thinking at that time. That's part of our 7 plus or minus 2. And so when we are happier, because we are aware that, oh, we have this, I mean, it would be sort of like, let me give you a different metaphor, and I'll use money as the metaphor. You can be consciously aware of how much money you have in your bank account right now, or in your investment account, or whatever, what your net value is. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, it's not very high. My life sucks. I'm poor, or whatever, something like that.
Right.
Now, if somebody pointed out, but what about your grandfather who left you this multi-million-dollar investment account? You've actually got $30 million, Mike Mandel.
Wow.
And now you're consciously aware of that resource and go,
Not.
wow, my life's awesome. You will behave differently when you are aware consciously of different unconscious resources that you weren't aware of a moment ago.
All right.
That's one way to look at it.
Perhaps to look at it in terms of our George Miller NLP model, what you're currently aware of and what you aren't. But here's the thing. People typically cannot, who are stuck, who go to a hypnotherapist, cannot dislodge the problem because they're working consciously all the time.
Bingo.
When you get the trance happening, then the other things become available that
Right.
were not available up to that
And
point.
become conscious
Right.
later or
For
during
example,
the process.
My own experience when I had the phobia. Now, my wife and I were playing pickleball yesterday in this big, beautiful new gym.
You're talking about the
of high
altosolariphobia,
Phobia. Yeah,
which
fear
is
of
the
high
fear of high
ceilings.
ceilings, in case you weren't aware of that.
I said to Heather, like, I wouldn't even been able to come in here
Yeah.
and hit a pickleball, prior to that. So that changed. I tried to fix it consciously my whole life. And it was
Yeah.
only when I went into trance, found the past initial sensitizing event that was in the unconscious that I fixed it. So I'm seeing
Yeah.
it more like hypnosis is, as Tad James said, he said hypnosis is the mind-body connection.
I think that makes a lot of
Here's-
sense.
I don't want to divide the room.
Yeah.
But here's where I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into the works, or a spanner for the Brits. That study out of Britain a few years ago, I can't remember who did it, but I'm at an age that I can occasionally not have to.
That the unconscious decides first? Yeah.
No, not that 6-second early one.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
whole idea that it's the conscious mind that doesn't exist.
Oh yeah,
They
it's
said-
a projection.
A projection.
Of it. And I actually like that model a
too.
lot because which taps in perfectly to if we deal with the unconscious, which is really the only way we can truly connect.
And make these magnificent
The
changes for life.
unconscious will project a different conscious mind, which is simply the same way as saying you'll become aware of different things.
Sure. And yes, aware of different things. And the bottom line is this projection, the point of it is as an interface with the physical world and time and space that we relate
Yeah.
to. This is the way, otherwise we'd be bottled up with all this stuff unconscious, and the conscious awareness uses our senses and that too.
Yeah, it's like I often like to say, we can do all these wonderful changes at an
But-
unconscious level, but if they don't seem to make sense to the person consciously at some point,
Nice.
that they're consciously not going to reach into their wallet and hire you again. Right?
Right,
They go,
right.
"Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They may not believe the changes actually happen, or that there needs to be a conscious understanding that something happened.
Right, there has to be for closure to fulfill their convincer
Yeah.
strategy. But so I'm going to give my answer to this, Royza,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to make Chris laugh, and I want him to try as hard as he
Okay.
can not to. And I absolutely guarantee he's going to laugh. So I hope you're
Oh,
watching
man.
this and not just listening. So my answer, Royza, is what I said in the group. The whole idea of eating the menu instead of the food.
Oh, yeah.
These are just models. It's all just a model, and I couldn't care less if any of these are correct or not. It makes no difference. I just have means
Good answer.
to make changes. I'm only interested in the end result. How it's all happening is absolutely irrelevant to me.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point, that all of these things are models. And the idea of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, we've often talked about. Somebody on our YouTube channel maybe a decade ago now was like, there's no conscious and unconscious mind. We never said they're like real things. You can't separate surgically the conscious mind from the unconscious mind. It's a freaking model.
It's a useful model.
Yeah.
And again, the test of any model is its usefulness. And so whichever one you choose to adopt, great. If you want to adopt them all, fine.
Yeah.
You know, all of you. And now, as promised, I'm going to make Chris laugh.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Hey, these are always worrisome because I'm unprepared.
Worrisome is a great word. It's not used enough. It's not used enough.
I just laughed.
It's
Okay,
right up there
sorry.
with Penis.
Poker face.
Okay, ready? You ready?
Yeah. He's anchored it the whole podcast. This
yes, I
stupid
have.
USB adapter. Oh,
Remember what
that
it's
was
called?
This. Yeah. This is brilliant. This is brilliant.
Oh,
Mike,
man. All right. So let's...
If you ever needed a good demonstration live on the fly here of a demonstration of anchoring,
That was it.
this.
Now let's talk about... We got some supplemental stuff here. How are we doing for time? So we'll wrap these
We
up.
should probably, let's just take a look. We're good let's go for 10 more minutes.
Okay. So let's go through. Here's an interesting side note with hypnosis. As we know, Dave Ellman looked at the works of Bernheim from the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Bernheim discovered when he hypnotized the person the following week, his patient, because Bernheim was a neurologist,
Mm-hmm.
the patient would go into a deeper trance even faster. And this was a consistent experience he had. And then Ellman comes along and brilliantly says, well, why
are we waiting a week?
Why not wait a day?
Why
And
not send him out
he's
into the
in
waiting
Fargo,
room and
North
bring him
Dakota.
back right away?
Why not even just keep him here and hypnotize him, wake him up, hypnotize him, wake him
And
up?
fractionation was born.
Which is probably the most dependable deepener you can do once you have something to deepen.
Which then speaks to, okay, do you believe in the state model? Because if you're deepening someone in hypnosis, aren't they in a hypnotic state? And Mike Mandel, aren't you believing in the state model because you're talking about depths of trance?
And my answer is, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just irrelevant to me. I don't attempt to define certain things. I always say hypnosis is like cotton. I don't understand it, but I use it.
I mean, we understand it enough to use it. So there you
Right,
go.
you're not out there picking
It's a
cotton,
model.
making shirts
There
out
are
of it.
so you could write so many books. In fact, so many books have been written on how to explain what exactly is hypnosis. It's like saying, well, how exactly does the brain work? It's a very complicated topic.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to simplify it to that degree.
Yeah,
so
it's like asking what energy is.
let's just help people make changes. The ability to do work.
Yeah,
Okay, but
that's-
what
that's
is
a
it
description,
really?
But that's not saying what it is.
Yes, that's a good point. The
A
definition.
description is not an explanation.
That's a really good point because in physics
That's right.
they'll tell you what is energy. It's the ability to do work. Oh, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is interesting. So let's talk about Robert Smith's idea of diffractionation now.
Okay.
Because when he taught faster EFT, and we met him in Las Vegas, nice guy.
We
I did
like
some
him.
graphology for him, good guy. So he took Gary Craig's 13-point, roll the eyes, happy birthday, all this,
Simplified it.
down to 5 points. So
Right.
it was center of forehead, outer eye, under, collarbone, squeeze, deep breath, relax, and say peace. And he found he was getting the same results with that greatly simplified tapping model, to which I only created my 6th step by adding one thing, which is the anxiety spot in Chinese medicine right in the center of the top of the head. Because there's a lot of anxiety with people when they have problems. What if it doesn't
Yeah.
work? What if it gets worse? All this stuff. So he said the tapping is diffractionation.
Okay,
they
so
have a
explain
problem,
that.
like a fear
Yeah.
that is ingrained now. If I get on a plane, all this worry. He said the tapping, doing the sequence, defractionates them and removes them from
Okay,
that trance
got you.
specific to that.
So you could think of it as fractionating them into a new trance, a new believed in imagination.
Oh, well, Chris.
Well,
I guess
there we
you
go.
could, but you're going to have to talk to him about that.
Okay,
one.
I get it though. Undoing the fractionation that had been going on
From an ongoing trance.
because if you think about fractionation in the old Bernheim model of do it again later,
Yeah.
a week later. Well, that's like re-anchoring.
3 trips to Bernheim.
Yeah, re-anchoring something, right?
Well, that's exactly
so
it.
it happens. Anchored.
Yes.
It happens. Actually, that's really good. Turned into a freaking lesson. Look at that.
Great. I want to get a little closer to my eye.
yeah.
Those of you listening, he said the end of it so
Yeah.
close
Here,
to my eye. It
here,
looked like it was about
here,
a
should I-
foot wide. You're a
Whoa,
bastard.
this stuff. Okay, so by having a bad experience happen over and over again, it makes it even stronger. Get on a plane. I'm scared for my life. Get on a plane again. Already scared for my life.
More
Little bump. Oh
deeply
my God, scared for my life.
ingraining it, yes.
Yes.
And that's where mindscaping can release someone from it by removing that whole.
So the tapping could involve defractionation, which also means really any other process that's repeated
Yeah.
could be defractionating someone from the trance that they were in.
So-
and if you throw enough good stuff at it, you'll overwhelm the bad right away
Right,
anyway.
John Grinder. Now, I just want to mention, I want to give a shout out to Noelle because she's doing such a great job with our online practice rooms,
Yes.
which are open 24/7. Now, she's not there 24/7.
She's the
She has a
MMHA
life.
community facilitator.
Yeah.
And it was actually her idea. When we introduced community rooms for Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, they're open 24/7, but they weren't really taking off because people were a bit afraid and intimidated. What should I do? And Noelle was the one who said, we need to make sure that they're like there's not a teacher in the room.
Facilitator.
It's not a teaching role.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a facilitator role. It's sort of like, here's some activities that we can do. I'm not teaching you hypnosis, but I'm going to run you through the activity and then you can discuss amongst yourselves. So she's really great at guiding people into these experiences so that they feel comfortable to practice. They learn
Excellent.
something. You know what I described it as yesterday? I was talking to one of our foundation's live members, and I said, it's like DIY Foundations Live. Foundations Live is a coaching program where you come in, you practice with us online, and we give you feedback, and we discuss and answer questions. We put you in breakout rooms, you practice with each other, and we're there watching and helping you out with stuff. So we're actually teaching. Whereas the practice rooms are like Foundations Live. You have practice exercises, but you do them yourself with some guidance, some facilitation around, okay, this is how the activity works.
and keeping it on track.
Keeping people from going off the rails and making up their own stuff.
Brilliant.
Free to do that in the private rooms, but don't do those in the open rooms where, so Noelle's been kicking butt.
Yes, Noelle. Now, here's a question. Someone asked, what is a good way to practice power language and metaphors by yourself? So I'm going to start with that. We'll see what you come in with. We think power language, much of which is found in our cards, our hypnotic language cards. It's very much a power language thing, language that's going to cause a change in the other person, whether positive or negative. And there they are.
New brand.
New brand. Very nice.
Only sold in the United States right now. If you want a deck of these, you got to join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy on our test drive upgrade offer, and then we'll ship them to you.
We used
anywhere.
to ship them everywhere, and then we were paying like $40 to ship them to Australia.
Yeah, and it was taking too long, and it started costing too much. So yeah, we just can't sell them with free shipping.
So how can you practice the power language? The cards are a great way. Carry 3 or 4
well,
with
power
you and
language.
work them into your conversation.
Not every card is power language, obviously.
No, but there's a lot in there.
Some of the power language words like just.
Sure.
What you can do is grab the PDF version of the cards if you don't have the physical deck of the cards, or just watch our power language training and you pick there's one. You can carry around these cards that represent the power language and slip them into everyday sentences.
And just slip them into everyday
and
sentences.
Yet, because,
don't,
how, why. Why is one of these danger words that now can be considered a power language, maybe. I don't know.
And practicing metaphors by yourself.
Because
it's a simple way to practice metaphors by yourself. Look over your own life. What are stories that were impactful for you? He's still going.
How? Yeah.
Stories that were impactful in your life. And how can you present them in a form that is metaphorical? So they're easy to tell. They're a minute or two long that can cause a salubrious effect in another person.
Excellent. I think we have a YouTube video where you taught on power language at Hypnothoughts Live. Was probably a few years back, probably 2019 or something.
Wow.
If we have that, while you guys are listening to this and making the show notes before we go live with this, let's put a link to that video on power language in the show notes, which means all you need to do is go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com/236. 236. And that should get you to the page on our website with this podcast's show notes.
All right.
And we'll make sure that we put a link to power language.
Brilliant. And then there's the question, how can I describe mindscaping to my clients? Well, there's 2 answers to that. First of all, why would you want to?
Yeah.
They don't know what it is. There's only some super elite hypnosis people like you listening right now who know what mindscaping is. And if it isn't, if you don't, you better find out. But Mindscaping is a universal tool for personal change, for working with another person. You can't do it on yourself. If the client asks you about it, which I don't think they will, there's no point in advertising it. Nobody knows what the hell it is. But you can make the simple statement that it is a means of working with the subject's unconscious, where their unconscious offers you the symbols that will unlock their problem.
Yeah. Simple version of this is
I thought that was
when it comes to the marketing part of
Right.
it, like where should you explain what mindscaping is? Well, similar question for any other thing that people teach. There's all these different branded ways of
Like
doing
timeline
hypnosis.
therapy,
Yeah, timeline therapy,
EFT.
RTT, EFT, 7-path or 5-path or whichever one. I think one is hypnosis. One is for hypnotists to do with other clients,
That's
and one is
7-path, I think.
one
No,
is
5-path. I don't know.
I don't know because I never studied it, but I know Cal Banyan has his stuff.
yeah.
There's all people out there with their different things. Should you explain that you do that? Okay, only if your client will care. Think about
Which
here.
is somewhat unlikely.
Back to this,
Cut!
which is a connector. No, I'm serious for a
Not
moment.
me.
Back in the day, when you were buying stereo cables to plug your speakers into your stereo or whatever, you probably cared that they were gold plated.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
No
gold
corrosion.
plated
Yeah.
connectors are better. We all know that, right? Well, it's actually true. I used to work in the interconnect space, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's actually true, but only for many wear cycles. But whatever, don't worry about it. Point is, if the buyer of this thinks that you need gold plated this,
Yeah.
these are gold plated, I think. Then say it. If they don't know what the heck it means, don't say it because they won't care and you will lose them. They don't care about features that they don't even understand. They only care if the feature, I do mindscaping, will give them a benefit that they imagine and believe in. Believed in imagination.
Believed in
comes back. There you
imagination
go.
again. Brilliant, Chris.
So
Well
in
done.
my opinion, don't say, I do mindscaping. Who freaking cares?
Yeah,
You
mindscaping
care.
is hypnotic, but we
they
never say
don't.
that. Yeah.
What do they
They
care
don't
about?
care.
They care about the benefit. The benefit is my life will get better.
No, that's always a good one,
Right.
isn't it? Yep. Whoa,
this stuff really comes out.
Now, Gabriella asks me to comment on working with OCD. So, obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm just going to give you my opinions here. I worked with it a fair bit back in the 1990s. We believe that obsessive compulsive disorder is tied to ego states again. It's a retro avoidance ego state where the subject has evaded ego state, invaded by fear, anger, sadness, trauma, that doesn't want to be executive, because when that ego state is executive, they feel all the negative emotions.
Yeah.
So there's another state, not something like over drinking or doing dope or zoning out in television all the time to stop it becoming executive, but an obsessive compulsive state takes the executive to stop the painful one from becoming executive.
Obsessive cleaning,
So,
obsessive
clean-
pattern following,
Any of
those
the
kinds
above.
of things. So question actually, would the same, in your opinion, Mike, apply to things like cutting or hair pulling?
I think
or
so,
something?
yes.
I would imagine it does.
They all serve a purpose. Trichomania or something. Yeah.
Pulling out your eyelids and
But
eating. No.
Shut up. That makes me think of, remember Chris Farley?
Yeah.
When he used to play the guy who was the public speaker and everything,
Yeah.
the motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And he'd say, he'd pull his pants up all the
Yeah.
time. He said, maybe I am morbidly obese.
Yeah, with the
maybe I
quotes.
do eat my own dandruff. That's what he said. I just freaking crying laughing.
He was such a, oh man, R.I.P.
There's always room for a fat comic. Him
All
and
right.
John.
I think
So,
it's time to end this.
We're just going to say, so the whole point of treating OCD with the method I used was we would get them to not feel, we'd force them to feel the pain, the evaded state.
Heal
By
that state.
not letting them do the obsessive pattern. The same as not letting the person drink or smoke. If it's that kind of thing, not obsessive compulsive disorder. So when you stop them from doing the behavior, the evaded state surfaces. When it does, you can use 6-step tapping, get rid of the negative potential there, and the behavior disappears. That's my model. It will just disappear because it's not needed anymore.
Bingo. All right, let's wrap it up with
Chris, why don't you give us some empowering questions?
All right, here you go. For episode 236, we have how can I add to my knowledge of hypnosis in a clear and usable way by cutting away the non-essential and applying new tools to deepen my learning? And what will I do to become an even better hypnotist, and communicator today.
Right. And it's not going to be a Meta 5 today because we're running tight. And
We are. We'll save it for the next one.
We'll save it for the next one. So
Thanks again, and good night. And we are not witches.